So I would like to welcome to my podcast today. I have Joe James. He is one of the directors of Radar Festival. Welcome, Joe.
Hi there, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure, man. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. I mean, we were just talking off air a second ago, but just saying that lockdown hasn't been too bad. A lot of people had it a lot worse. Boredom is a problem, but
Yep.
the world is starting to open back up again now. So
Yes,
and I'm sure we'll talk about it soon. Get to start planning doing this kind of things that I've been doing for many years again.
yes, yeah. No, that's what I mean. That's what you're here for. I mean, you have got a festival booked. You got dates booked in Guildford for Radar Festival 2021. Unfortunately, 2020 got postponed, as with everything that whole damn year. And your festival wasn't was affected by that, obviously, and everything is still pointing towards this year. It's in July, end of July, 30th and 31st for everyone watching. It is still going ahead as far as we know at the moment, so buy tickets. It's a fantastic lineup you got this year. But first, I want to talk about the first one you did in Guildford. Obviously, you had it at the casino venue. It's a nightclub. Let's call it the venue. And so a venue that I know very well, just purely from DJing there over the years, when it was Harper's, when it was whatever the other, it's gone through many name changes over the years. But most recently I've been DJing Schism, which is the club night I've been doing for the last almost 20 years, -5 when I moved over to America. But yeah, so like that night was great. I mean, I obviously I was fortunate enough to be there, and you had animals as leaders. You had trying to remember the other acts. Give me some of the other acts you had. And
year one, so the headliners were Animals as Leaders and Monuments. Had Heart of a Coward. We had band that I really love. I mean, it's really hard talking about this because I love pretty much all the bands that play. I think you'd be hard pushed to find one that I don't like, because we book music we like. But it's like trying to pick your favorite child. But one of the bands that I really loved and I'd always wanted to put on for many, many years was Agent Fresco, who are like a really beautiful Icelandic band that just, the music's wonderful. I'd check out Agent Fresco.
Yes,
they're wonderful.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of the bands on my show over the past couple of years. Back I was trying to think who I've had now. I should have written these down and I haven't. So I'll go back through my list in a minute. But like having some of these like it opened me up to a lot of these bands. Now a lot of them I did know. I knew Monuments, I knew Heart of a Coward, I knew Animals as Leaders. And there was it Chroma? Do you have Chroma playing?
No one called Chroma. Actually just pulled up the poster. So
awesome.
Monuments, Heart of a Coward. We had a secret act, which was Black Futures, who are local to Guildford. They've just changed their name to Never Not Nothing because they felt that it wasn't right to have that name when the whole BLM movement was going on. So fair play to them. Local boys Polar, Loathe, who for their position on the bill, they should be much higher now because they have exploded since they played the last show just before the first lockdown, and they're huge now. If you look at their plays on Spotify and everything, they're just going up and up. They're a brilliant band.
Nice.
Tosca, then loads of really cool local bands like Suma, Escher, Unprocessed, German bands. They've just been getting bigger and bigger. And then the other day we had Rolo Tomasi, who are huge. Car Bomb, who are like the Panic Attack version of heavy metal. Vola, and we're repping their hat right now. They've got a really good new single out at the moment, which check out. Loads of other bands. I could just keep listing them. We're really, really proud of it. It was kind of the culmination of the three of us, Ash, Catherine, and I, who run the festival. It's kind of a culmination of everything we've done, and we'd always wanted to do our own festival. So I guess this was very much us on a poster.
Yeah. No,
for other people's music.
You're active. You're an active promoter beforehand, putting on like the sort of progressive shows and things like that, or progressive metal shows, or gent, wherever they want to, whatever the buzzword was at the time. And you went under it was Progressive Promotions, wasn't it? You went under on that front, and you had like shows in Guildford. You held them at the Boiler Room predominantly, but also the Star as well. Two fantastic venues locally for us that hopefully once they're back open again we'll be frequenting a lot more than we were beforehand. And the Star, in fact, is another night that hosts me DJing. So and I've always loved playing there when I was in bands before and everything as well. And it is like, and the Boiler Room, actually, let's not negate that. Both fantastic venues in Guildford, but obviously building like over the years, like being a promoter in that sort of like environment with the sort of progressive sound that now has kind of, I'd say it's blowing up, or has blown up, or is, you know, it is getting more popular, especially the modern prog side of things. I've had a lot of classic prog bands on here, and a lot of them have cited some of the new bands as like really, really kind of, you know, like they rate them, you know, on that front. I've had like groups like Yes and stuff, like the classic prog from back when, and now with like the sort of, you know, bands like Tesseract and everything like that sort of blowing up, or have blown up, Periphery, Animals as Leaders, stuff like that. How have you found that sort of like kind of sticking to that genre in promoting shows?
Well, I think when I first started doing it, it was a lot easier because it was so weird. I started doing it because we were going to put, me and a couple of my friends were going to put on a birthday party for my ex-girlfriend, and then it just got out of hand, and it ended up with us booking Monuments, and I think we paid them more money than they'd ever been paid before to do it, and it was great. We sold out the Boiler Room, and we were just like, all right, let's do it, and ran from there. And sort of as the years progressed, Nick and Rob, who did it with me, you know, they've got lives and careers, and they sort of dip in and out. They're always there for moral support. I've still got a group chat with them where I throw ideas at them all the time.
Nice.
But with the three of us, plus sort of a group of our surrounding friends, were so into that gent sound. And there was a gig which I actually missed because I couldn't get out of work, which is quite a famous one now at the Underworld, where it's Periphery, Tesseract, and Monuments. And it's funny to think that those three bands playing together once at the Underworld are now, you know, three of the biggest names in the genre. And it's kind of exploded. You know, you get a lot of people who are trying to be part of the sound, and other people that are progressing it. And I think taking it to a wider, to come back to your point, with the festival, our definition of what we'd put on is really wide. We sort of loosely say progressive, not necessarily prog.
Yeah.
So you know, I could see someone like Wolfpack headlining one day, or, you know, going that bit left field, but still having bands like Humanity's Last Breath, who, I don't know if you check them out, are exceedingly heavy. But I still think of them as progressive because they're pushing the boundaries. And I think that's kind of what we want people to who we're going to put on, who are doing interesting things. So
yeah,
that's quite a large catchment area, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that, I mean, that's the best way of being. I mean, I used to promote back in the day as well. But I was sort of based out in Farnham, of all places. And is it Nick
the Maltings? And
yeah, is it Nick Harney you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, you know Nick because you used to live next to him, didn't you?
I used to work with him.
That was it. Yeah.
We worked at a video shop back in the day, back in Farnham when he was.
Yeah, and his flat was above it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we did graphic design together. He was like my best mate at uni.
Yeah, and no, it's like I say, well, I was sort of I did the like places like the Maltings. I put on shows at like the Agincourt, stuff like that. and also take like sort of co-promoted stuff at like the Star and things. And I always wanted to put on like variety bills. I found a bunch of very old posters the other day of the shows that I put on, and I had like bands that now like no longer exist, or went on to be something a bit more special, changed their name, like a band called Floor. They got a different another member in, changed their name to 100 Reasons, and became 100 Reasons.
It's a better name.
It is a better name. It is a better name, and they had a lot more success under that as well. And I just had Colin on the show actually, so it was kind of nice to catch up with him. But yeah, no, just like having that variety of bills. Like I had an electronic act on there, like a sort of new metal band, then like a thrash band, and like a band like Floor, which kind of crossed that post-hardcore sort of genre that was coming out at the time. So a bit more sort of on the rock side of things, heavy but not, and just sort of like having that. And I always had that whenever I put shows on. It was never sort of the same bands all the way through. It was always something different, and it works so much well as a sort of as a customer as well, because you get the variety on that.
Yeah, you don't want to pay and watch 4 identical bands playing one after the other.
Yeah, and exactly the same thing when I was in a band as well. It was like I always loved playing like gigs. We were in like a heavy metal band, but I always loved gigs playing with like indie bands and stuff, just purely because one, yeah, we'll stand out because we're a bit more aggressive. But it was just sort of like having that like difference. Like you stick, because you're going to stick around and watch, and I would rather be I don't want to hear my band 3 times. You know what I mean? Like you just say, you don't hear 4 of the same band. Shattered Skies were the band I had on my show that played your first festival to sort of go.
Yeah, they're good guys.
Yes, yeah. No, I was just trying to think, and I found it. But yeah, going on from that one, the first one. How do you feel that went for you? Because obviously there are a lot of people there, which was great. It was nice to see that place packed out on both levels. You had me doing the sort of after party stuff with Stiff Biscuit and was it Power Nerd?
Yeah, Power Nerd the day before. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and they both bands fantastic. I mean, I love like the cover band. They're great. And Power Nerd were great as well, because I found another band that fit into my my music radio show, because it kind of concentrates on the electronic crossover with metal and stuff. So and that was fun. But how did it go for you guys? I mean, what was the sort of like general sort of fallout from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all felt it went fantastic. If you could have given us the opportunity to do the festival again the next weekend, we probably would have. Apart from being absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, it was stressful because I've worked for quite a lot of festivals. I've worked for lots of venues, worked for lots of other people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I worked for the Boiler Room for 5 years, and we did a festival there. I worked for Guildfest, lots of local area stuff. But it's always someone else's reputation. This time it was me and Catherine's, and then Ash. So just a bit more background. So Catherine, who runs the lounge bar in Alton, and I, we've known each other for a long time. We've both been tour managers, both always known each other through the scene. We all know the same people. And I was at Euroblast a year before, which is very much the template we looked to emulate with Radar. And I was sort of saying to my friends, I'm going to do it. I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to do a festival. Made my mind up. It's going to do it. And then I thought, the one person I would really want to be my business partner was Catherine. So I asked Catherine, and she was like mad enough to say yes. And we started, the ball rolling. And I tell you what, coming up with a name for a festival is very hard work, very stressful. I guess it's like coming up with a name for a band or something.
Yeah.
So that was a really long and arduous process. Spent quite a lot of money on our identity as well, because I figured, it needs to look good. And I mean, if you've seen the artwork, we wanted it to kind of not look like a metal festival.
Yeah.
Because, they're always black. They're always, really exaggerated logos and stuff. We wanted it to be quite flowery, and we just had this idea anyway.
Yeah.
And then we started working with Ash, who's in Valis Ablaze, and he's worked for some big concert promoters. He's a friend of ours who we met through Khan from Harper Coward.
Yeah.
And he was doing our marketing for us, and we just got on so well that I said to Catherine, I think we should give a third of the company to Ash. And he was mad enough to say yes as well. And so a lot of it comes down to Ash, because, you know, we just threw money at him and said, sell the festival. And he did his thing. You know, me and Catherine did bits as well, but we really, you know, I was sort of worrying about the operations and stuff, and Catherine's very much the financial person telling me off for over promising things financially. And then so it's really good to have Ash on the side to do the marketing. Anyway, yeah, so, you know, we came up with this idea, and yeah, it went better than we ever thought it could, to be honest. There are a few things, I mean, everyone kept saying to us, you know, patting us on the back, saying it was really good, and I would say I gave us an 8 out of 10. There's always stuff you can do better. There were some things we can definitely do better, and it was obviously, you know, the pretext to what I'm about to say is a lot worse happened in the world in the year than us not being able to put on our festival. But from our point of view, you know, we were so gutted at not being able to do the next one and postponed. So before everyone knew the extent of COVID and realized, you know, this is actually a really big deal, we pushed it back to October. Then obviously October wasn't going to happen, so we pushed it back to July this year. And to be really honest, we're still waiting to see if we can do it, because it's so near to after the end of, well, sorry, the return to normality that we're unsure. I mean, I called it about a year ago, and it's all starting to become apparent now. I had a feeling it was going to come down to health passports, and you turn up to my festival and we either have to see a vaccine, or you have to have shown you've done a test within 24 hours, or you commit to doing one on the door, which you'll buy off the whatever event, which they're about 30 quid each at the moment. They're 15-minute tests. So I kind of thought that would be the way. But, you know, working in the industry, I'm a tour manager, I run a festival, I've worked for a music venue. It's just another level of red tape. So, you know, we just have to test the crew. We just have to make sure the bands are tested. It's just one extra thing. And, you know, the events industry is so resilient, and there are thousands of more talented people than me in the event industry. So if there is an industry that can lick it, it's the events industry.
Yeah, no, it's what was it? I was watching, well, I was hosting actually. We had this with TotalRock, the hashtag I Love Metal thing, the return to the UK music scene, which is a movement along with like We Make Events and things like that have kind of popped up over this time. This is a new one. This was sort of mainly focused around the sort of metal like scene in the UK, and how things like obviously live streaming and all that kind of stuff has come about, but how we're going to get back to shows, basically how we're going to return to it. And one of the guys said on there, if they're like, well, the one thing about this music industry is we are a problem solving like industry, as just like when we're in normal sort of like circumstances, that's exactly what you do. You know, when you've got gigs, something goes wrong, you've got to creatively kind of like do, you know, you've got to instantly come up with something. And most of the time, the problem solving, it's part of what we do. But you're right with the red tape. It's just like there's no, I don't know, there's no like, I mean, there is kind of funding there for some of the arts. I'm not going to totally sort of like say there wasn't any kind of support, because there was in the end, there was little bits here and there, but it was hard to come by. Like, and the lack of insurance and stuff like that, which is obviously plaguing people like yourself. On this call, we had Andy Farrow, who manages Paradise Lost, and Devlin Townsend, and we had Emma Banks from CAA, stuff like that. So we had some sort of like heavy hitters on there. We also had some independents on there and stuff as well. It might be something you might want to actually like get involved in, like just because we're having like these online debates. It's set up by Mark Minette, who was
I saw the full guest list, and
yeah,
I just couldn't tune in at the time because of work.
No, it's fine. I wasn't. Yeah, it's fine. I was just like, it might be something like, because they're gonna have future events, and what I would like is someone on there who's a bit younger.
I'm not that young.
I know, but it was like there was a certain demographic that was missing from it, like which I spoke to the people about. I just said, look, there's a lot of like old heads there, which is fine because they've been in the industry for a long time. They know exactly what needs to come back. But it's mainly things like the crew. People have gone off and gotten other jobs and stuff and retrained and maybe don't want to come back to the industry. And they've had to sort of go off and get jobs because they can't go out to festivals and stuff like that. And like you say, with you being tour manager, promoter and stuff like that, and yes, worse things have happened to other people during this time, but the industry has been hit quite severely on that front, and it's going to be a long way back. Obviously we're looking at sort of like hopefully getting back to, I hate using the normality word, but normality. And if things like, I don't know, if health passports or quick checks or whatever beforehand will do it, then I think it would make people, I don't know, it's a weird one because it's kind of like, there's a selfish part of me. It's like, oh, just have your fucking vaccine or do whatever. But then, it is down to people's personal choice. So
yeah, I mean, I'd say, that I know people have concerns about things, and some people have some very strong views on why they shouldn't be forced to do anything, and I totally agree. I think it should be a complete voluntary thing. However, and there is a tyrannical worry about things like people being tracked through things like vaccine passports, but equally, I guess the other side of the coin, there are some countries you have to get vaccinated to go to, but equally there are ways around it. If you do not have the vaccination for whatever reason, whether you can or you don't want to, you can still get a 15-minute test on the way into an event. But you have to say yes to things like that. And for me personally, and I actually was saying this in a festival group the other day, where I just thought, why are people kicking off about this? We've lost a year plus work.
Yeah.
No one's been able to go to a gig for a year. No one's been able to go to a festival. I went to 10 festivals the year before COVID. This is my love. This is what I love doing. And I've just put it mentally to one side and said, okay, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
But if I have another year because people just won't prove that they don't have COVID, that is something that would annoy me.
Yes.
There's a lot of things to be annoyed about in the world, but that what we're sitting here talking about is something that brings a great deal of joy to people in the country, in the world. That I don't have the stats in front of me, but the figure of what it contributes to the UK economy is in the billions.
Yep.
The employment, that there are some people who just spent all year vocationally working in festivals and gigs, and this is what they do. And I mean, I know some incredible front of house engineers and crew who have been working, they've been working in a warehouse and being I don't know if you can swear on a podcast, but people have been treating them like shit.
Yeah.
And they're just, they're like, I was touring around Europe last year and now I have this guy just talking to me like I'm a piece of shit. It's just, and so I would happily say, at the very least, I would happily take a 15-minute test on the door to go and see a band I want to see, just so that everyone in that room can have peace of mind. Everyone can be back to work. The bands can play. Because what the other misconception about the music industry is, most people in there, the bands, they don't make a lot of money. If they make money from it, they're doing well. If they make a lot of money from it, they're that top small percentage. But they are doing it for the love, and they are also putting their lives at risk as well, and their loved ones. So everyone in that room, secure bubble. There's been loads of tests in Spain. I don't know if you've been reading up on that. They keep doing capacity tests into the thousands now.
Yeah.
Everyone's still wearing a mask. Is what it is. I'll wear a mask. I wouldn't. another bugbear of mine is when you go in the supermarket and you have the hand sanitizer, and I swear I'm the only person that puts it on. but to walk into a gig, I'd happily watch everyone have to hand sanitize, put their mask on, show their thing, or do a test, go in. Industry can work. We can listen to music. I want to listen to music live.
Yeah.
That's a really long-winded way of getting around to that point.
No, definitely. I mean, it's also, I mean, you take opportunities with that as well. Like you can, if you supply masks to people coming in, you can slap the logos on it and stuff like that. You can get that done, and it's all part of, the sort of like, you can use it to your advantage on that front, not to be sort of the marketing man in my head, which comes out occasionally. But yeah, no, it's just, I mean, I'm halfway vaccinated, if that makes sense. I've had my first jab, and I take a weekly test. Just through my work, they have supplied us with like an opt-in for testing. Which
do you have to do? Is it the tonsil and nose one?
Yes.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it?
Absolutely horrible. But they have paid for that for the staff. We don't have to do it. They've just done it for our own sort of like well-being. And we just either send it off from work if we're in the actual building, or it actually comes with a postage thing. You stick in a priority box and you get the result the next day or the day after. Which is, with the sort of 15-minute test, that's good. My kids are doing those. They've had them supplied from the school, and they're doing them twice a week. So, and they have to report it on the track and trace app, depending on what the result was. And that's that. They're sort of getting used to that. It's not a great thing to get used to. But I had to demonstrate how to do the test a few times in front of them, which they didn't enjoy either. I didn't enjoy it, but they didn't enjoy that. But I mean, I would happily like take a 15-minute test before going in, or flash my COVID vaccine card or whatever. But that's me, that's you as well. It's sort of what we, we're passionate about music, and we want that to kind of return. Because there is like, we're going to have, we need that kind of like distraction, like something that we love doing, away from, we've all completed Netflix now. We've all completed all that stuff, and now it's just kind of like it's where we need to work together to get back to it. Or at least like get something rolling where we can kind of go back to certain things like gigs, festivals. I mean, they're going to open up other places.
I'm feeling pretty confident about it. I mean, I don't know if you know who Mark David is, who runs the Music Venues Trust. He has been, if anyone needs a knighthood at the end of this, Mark probably deserves one, because he has been working, and all the people at the Music Venues Trust and Alliance, working so hard to save the venues in crisis who were, with an emergency fund, helping every single venue apply for their Arts Council England grants. They have saved a lot of music venues, and gauging the room, reading all the stuff in the groups and stuff, there's a lot of very worried people out there, because music venues were pretty hand to mouth before this.
Yes,
they all struggled. We're not lucky like Europe, where there's a lot of grant money and stuff for touring artists and music venues, anything cultural. For some reason, they don't like it here. So they worked really, really hard to keep all these venues going. But he posted this article that really stuck with me, and not being able to say the whole thing word for word, that the point was, don't pay attention to the doom scrolling stuff on your phone, because everyone's going to be inherently negative about stuff, because that's just people's reactions. Look, follow the data, and the data is great. We have given, I think we're at the time of speaking in the low 20 million first doses out of 66 million people. So third of the way there for the first doses. I'm being told 32. There you go, 32 million first doses. My girlfriend's over there. Sorry. And so that's really promising, considering a couple of months ago Portugal had barely done 150,000. You know, they are struggling getting it out in Europe. So I think England, you maybe see become a bit of a closed shop for the next maybe year and a bit. But from speaking to a lot of people in the industry, I mean, some of the big companies they believe in Q3 and Q4 this year. You know, 2022 is looking like quite a busy year at the moment for all bands I'm speaking to. Everyone's booking up for work.
Yeah.
But it's just getting past the summer, and I'm sure we'll have setbacks, and everyone will think it's the worst thing in the world. Festival season. I mean, I'm an optimist, and I'm really trying not to be an optimist about it. I think I will, at the end of festival season, have been to a couple.
Okay.
Whether it's my one, I don't know. Whether it's I really hope at the end of the summer I'll be stood at Arctangent having a beer in my hand watching a band, because that's something I really want to do. And the same weekend is Green Man, who I've worked for 7 or 8 years. So I usually do a couple of days there, go to Arctangent, and go back to a couple more days there. If I can somehow finish the year doing that, the summer of festivals, I'll be very pleased. But I'm more realistic about Q3, Q4. I think we'll be going to gigs at the end of the year for all the reasons we've talked about up to this point. Being really, really honest, you know, my festival, we're an indoor festival, we can do it anytime. So if we do make the call, and we're constantly monitoring government advice, listening to our trade body, the Association of Independent Festivals, speaking to every agent we know, speaking to anyone we can who knows what's going on. We still haven't made our mind up.
Okay.
because it's just so close to call at the moment.
Yeah.
And if I'm really honest, I think it's going to come down to whether or not the insurance thing works out, because the government's saying they won't underwrite festival insurance is a big problem industry wide. And being so close to the wire, it could be a problem for us, because you never know. You know, are people going to want to go to a festival a month after it all allegedly ends?
Yes.
You know, this is what we debate daily in our festival management chat.
Yes, I can imagine. It must be a real like head scratch. That's why I'm trying to like not ask you, is it going ahead? Because it's like
that is the most honest answer I can give you. That at the moment it's Schrodinger's festival. It is and it isn't going ahead.
Yes. That's a good name for a festival as well. No, that's right. Let's talk about this year, the lineup you've got. Like, you know, I want to talk as though it's going ahead because I want to be there. I want to be out of it. And it's local as well, so I don't have to travel too far. But this year, I mean, you got some absolutely fantastic bands. I mean, you had Dirty Loops lined up last year as well for their first ever kind of UK performance.
Yeah.
And they're your sort of like main band on there. You've got bands like Hacktivist, fantastic. You got Hacken, Intervals, Sleep Token, who are amazing. A Conjurer as well. I'm just looking at the lineup now. And I had recently, I interviewed, it's not gone out yet, but I had Monsieur from Siamese, the front man from Siamese on the show.
Yeah. Lovely guy.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing them.
I was calling Mirza. I don't know if that's the right way of pronouncing his name, but
yeah, that's it, Mirza. Sorry, I wrote it down wrong.
I don't know if that's right. He might just be really polite when I say his name.
He gave it to me in 3 different ways. The way I would say it, which was Mirva, M-I-R-V-A. Then he gave it in Danish, which was the Mirza, I think, and then he gave it in his native. I think he was Slovakian originally.
Yeah, I think he's from the Baltic region.
Yeah,
but Danish.
Yeah, he was like refugee, came over, and people would have heard that in the previous podcast. Well, they would have at this point. It hasn't gone out yet. But no, absolutely lovely guy and fantastic band. Like again, like totally different from a lot of the bands on there, because they've got kind of like more of the sort of like pop sensibilities about their music.
They've got some hooks, man. Siamese,
totally.
Yeah.
And
great band.
Yeah, their new single's great. I love it. I like. I got it sent to me, and I was just like, great band. Then I saw they were playing Radar, and I was like, fantastic. get them on. And then I wanted to back a festival because at TotalRock we were kind of going to do one for download, which unfortunately is not happening now. Our sort of like, we had an aim of interviewing every band on the bill if possible between all the DJs on there. We did start that, but obviously then download sort of isn't going ahead, and a lot of the bands were like, actually no, we'll leave it because they might be back next year. But I wanted to pick a festival, so I picked yours. So I'm trying to get as many of the bands on the bill as possible.
Thank you.
On my show to talk about themselves, obviously, and the festival. But yeah, no.
Well, good luck getting the Sleep Token.
Yeah, no.
The secret identity band.
Yes, no, I will. Yeah, I'll see how that goes. But I mean, a lot of them, like, I obviously through the guys you use for PR, Hold Tight, I get a lot of bands through them. I've had a lot of their bands on the show, so hopefully I'm going to work with them and get some of the guys in that they look after on that front. But no, let's talk about. I mean, Dirty Loops, fantastic.
Yeah, that was. I mean, they are pretty much Catherine's favorite band of all time, and she, while at Radar, the first one, she put in a speculative, do you want to do headline next year? And they confirmed while we were watching, I think it was Animals as Leaders. The three of us were stood together, and she got the email confirming Dirty Loops, and we just sort of started jumping on the spot because we didn't think we'd get them. It was one of those age-old, I guess, if you don't ask, you don't get. And we didn't realize that they hadn't. Well, I didn't realize that Catherine knew this, that they hadn't played the UK, and it actually went because she was speaking to the agent, and she mentioned that she likes them, and she went to Amsterdam to see them, and the agent was kind of blown away that she travelled all the way to Amsterdam to see them, and so it knocked down a few boundaries early on, and so we were really stoked about that, and obviously you book from the top down.
Yep.
We didn't secure Haken for quite a long time, so we didn't really have a second, and obviously Sleep Token came in on our rebooking. I think Harper Cowd were in that slot, but then we moved and they couldn't do it, so we tried to get Sleep Token, got them. So it's kind of weird because we've booked this festival a couple of times now, and if July happens, I do expect to lose a couple of bands because of Brexit making it very difficult now, and also COVID, and Warband have to quarantine for a couple of weeks. We don't know. So these are all problems we're working out at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard through the grapevine that Reading and Leeds are booking. They're determined to go ahead, and they're booking an entire UK festival.
Yeah.
And I can, as I was alluding to before, I can kind of picture that happening a lot more in the next year. Just booking every local UK band you can get your hands on.
Yeah. Bloodstock has started doing that as well. They've started to fill their bill with British bands. Like they had a bunch of American bands drop out, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but then did a massive increase of bands, but they're all from the UK.
Yeah,
they've still got a couple of European bands on there, and obviously still pending. It's like your festival, you got bands from overseas on there as well, like you said. But are you from a promoter's point of view? If it's going ahead, do you have if these bands, certain bands cannot make it on the bill, do you already have people lined up, do you think, or not? Do you think?
I mean, we have, we've got a long list of bands who we would approach for each slot as and when. I mean, I think it's normal for any festival in the run up to their festival to lose one or two bands. I think it always happens. You're always expecting it. It's actually quite interesting because normally you have people on massive exclusivities, or say I mean, last year we work quite heavily with a particular agent who got us because he books them all. He got us Animals as Leaders, and he had quite a lot of our bill. Liam at Tonal, and so he what he'd be speaking to us and letting us know. We'd have an idea if we're going to lose someone. We lost intervals just before the last festival, actually, which was really gutting to me because I'd missed them in London a few times, and they were the band I really was looking forward to seeing. I mean, you know, I was looking forward to them all equally. Like I said, yeah,
Yes.
you like all your kids the same.
Yeah.
But it was, they were and it's really hard to watch bands at your own festival. I'd see 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there.
Yeah.
But they were the ones I was going to make time to see, and it was quite last minute, and copped a bit of stick on it online, which I thought was pretty unfair, because you can't help it, and you know the reasons why the band's cancelled, but you can never say. So you have to be like, yeah, it's really sorry, they can't make it for the, you know, we're going to do this, and you know, there's always a very polite party line, but you always find out why.
Yes.
But you can't say, and you know, it's just one of those things, and I think that's the thing when people see things through you know, Facebook and stuff. Obviously, they're just really disappointed they couldn't watch the band they really wanted to see. But yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah, definitely. I was curious because like the way things are at the moment, I wouldn't know if you've like already kind of reached out to bands and said, look, if this band cannot do it, we'd like to get you in, and kind of like just have them penciled.
So it's kind of like a domino effect. So top to bottom, rebook you find the dates. So what we did for our rebook is we found, it turned out to be our original dates, but you know, we made sure that Haken, Dirty Loops, I don't think we'd booked Intervals and Sleep Tech. We had Pliny at the time, so we were trying to see if Pliny could do it. Dirty Loops and Haken could. We lost Pliny because Pliny decided not to, just to skip Europe for a year, which turned out to be a really good decision.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then we go, okay, who can we get who's like Pliny or something? It's like, oh, same agent, Intervals. It was a really, really, really long wait, but yeah, we got them. Often, because you know, we're a small festival, it's so weird talking about, we should have done 2 now, but we're still on 1, and we're, you know, we have to work around the bigger festivals. So year 1, sorry, this is what I was trying to get to before. So we had Animals as leaders, and then Download booked them. I didn't want us to have them, and Liam the agent had to do a lot of very polite work saying, please, can they do both? They're only a small festival, it's not going to affect you. And Download were very nice and let us, actually there were like 3 or 4 bands that were on both, and they were very kind and didn't flex their very considerable industry weight there. But yeah, with the exclusivities, you know, you've got a smaller pool of bands now, because it's just UK based. So I think we're all going to have to be a bit more forgiving of each, because you know, you look at the festivals who are similar to you and you're like, oh well, I want to get them, or they're going to get them, and you know, I think no matter who is at these festivals, and we all get on very well, and we work very hard to get on very well, because people always try and pit us against each other, because you know, it's like Samsung and Apple, people have to have a side, when the reality is it's a small industry and we all know each other and we're trying not to piss each other off.
Exactly.
So I think there's been a bit more conversations now, like I've been speaking to other people, like, okay, we're thinking about moving to here, if we do, and then they go, oh okay, yeah, good, thanks for letting us know. And you know, so everyone's trying to give each other breathing space. I mean, I'm watching TechFest because TechFest's a month before us, and if TechFest can go ahead, then we can go ahead. If TechFest don't go ahead, I think you'll pretty quickly see us not go ahead, and then maybe that'll happen to Art Tangent. I don't know. You know, it's because everyone's looking at Glastonbury and everyone's like, oh, the industry's doomed. Glastonbury have gone, but Glastonbury's got a 3-month build and like a 3,000 person crew. They were always going to go. I was surprised that they held on for as long as they did. Reading surprises me because it's a lot of people.
It surprised a lot of people, including some of the bands that they announced, according to a report.
I'm pleased they're doing it though, because to have one of the big festivals doing everything to do it, because they've got the resources to set the standard, to, you know, show how it can be done, for government to take notice of them and go, okay, this festival with this turnover and this many people have successfully put on a festival. it's a good thing. So I really hope that. I mean, I hope every festival goes ahead.
Yeah. It was one of the things that came out of the debate we talked about a minute ago at the start of the show. That there was one thing that came, like, it was one thing the one guy said, and it was just like, it was towards the end, and obviously it was held for that point, but he just said, all we need, like, as an industry, is an audience. Like, we'll take care of the rest of the stuff. We can do this. We can put together the show. We can make it safe, because otherwise you'll get an escalation of like what was, like, well, still is, the rave culture, where events were put together illegally on land somewhere randomly, and you get, like, the hidden ticket or whatever.
I used to go to a lot in the back in the day.
Yeah. But they're looking at, like, and that would be technically unsafe, because there's no guidelines in the way. There's no, obviously it would be freeing for everyone going there, but at the same time it would be a breeding ground potentially for more breakouts of COVID, and lockdown can happen from that. But no, they just said, look, put us in front of an audience, give us an audience, let us have, that's the one thing we need. Which, like, really resonated, because I was like, yeah, that is basically it. We're a problem-solving industry. Let's do it.
Yeah, I kind of think it's impossible to put that many people together in one place, and people that no one is going to. I mean, maybe they will a little bit more, but it's so hard to respect all the distancing and stuff. It, just being frank, it's super difficult.
Yeah,
harder at our kind of events. We're indoors. That's why, again, talking about the health passports and everything. But even outdoors, I've never been to a festival where I've felt like my personal space has been respected the whole time. And I think as the evening progresses and people enjoy themselves a bit more, that's all going to go out the window. So it's all about creating the safest event possible.
Yeah.
Which there are steps which we've I won't keep going over the same points, yes, but that is how to do a safe event, and what we should be being encouraged and driven towards.
Yeah, definitely. But we're going to finish up in a minute, if that's all right. I've got a couple of questions left for you on that front, but I think that's a good sort of point to end on there, because it's sort of, we just need to we want to crack on. Exactly. But what I want to find out for you is what I normally ask the artists that I have on the show and stuff like that, but I ask you as a festival, as a promoter, as a director of your own company, what now, I'm going to slightly adapt it, because I've changed it slightly. What I want to know are your 3 albums, like not the top albums, but, like, say you've got your top 10, people always have honorable mentions, so outside that top 10. So what I want to find out are your 3 honorable mentions. So, you can think of your favorite one, and all that kind of stuff. But I want the ones that are just outside that list, the ones that you still have to mention on top of those.
Thing is, I like a really diverse cross section of music. Okay, this wouldn't make my top 10, but it'd definitely be an honorable mention. The first Slipknot album. I was at the first ever Slipknot gig in the Astoria. I was kicked in the face by DJ Sid. That was a good day. I was like 5'6". I'm 6'3" now.
Yeah.
I remember him jumping off the PA, foot landing in my face. I loved it. It's my first ever gig.
I remember that show. It was fucking insane. Yeah, like, I've been to the Astoria so many times before that, and in some pretty hectic pits. But that was I'm not gonna say it's the worst. It was the most fun, but it was the most, like, I'm gonna die tonight kind of pit. Yeah, that show was like, oh man, it's nice to see someone else who's been to that show. But yeah, that was absolutely manic, because I'd seen, like, because before that, like, Deftones really kind of, like, blew the place up. Korn blew the place up. And I was fortunate to go to their sort of early shows there as well. But going to that Slipknot show was just absolutely insane. I haven't been to a more insane one since. And I'd seen Slipknot a fair few times in big arenas and stuff like that, but being in that kind of compact crowd, and with the band the way they were as well, being incredibly, say, like DJ Sid jumping off that PA and ended up hurting a girl, I think it was. Someone got taken away in an ambulance. But it was absolutely insane. Yeah. I mean, obviously the album's great as well. But yeah, that gig.
Yeah, that, I mean, it's a fun. I can still remember it vividly. I remember being punched in the face in the pit, having never been in a mosh pit before, and then some dude just picked me up by the scruff of my hoodie, like nodded at me. It's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't me that punched you though. I started in punching.
I think it was just flailing fists. So
yeah, there was a lot of that,
bad.
a lot of that. But yeah, no, that was the great thing about that. Like it really, it's one of those venues that is sorely missed for one. Just going on to that venue side of it. Yeah, thank you for that, guys. And that whole area, to be fair, that used to be a haven. Like I had an album launch for my band at the 100 Club, which was down Denmark Street, and we played the Metro, which was like underneath next door. I went to so many shows at the Astoria and Astoria 2, or Mean Fiddler as it was known for a little bit. And also the Borderline as well, which is down the road, the Crowbar, which unfortunately is gone as well. Fuck, that whole area. That whole area was just amazing. But yeah, no, like that I mean, that show was great. I've got the ticket somewhere in here. But yeah.
See, I'm not. It really bothers me. I'm not sentimental enough to keep stuff like that. I mean, if I kept every gig ticket I had, I'd have some incredible ones. But they just go in the bin. I feel really bad.
I just like I put them away somewhere, and then I find them every like 3-4 years. Oh yeah, I should really frame these or do something with them. But no, they just go back in that box.
Yeah. There's a tour manager who I know called Marek. He's a German dude. He does like Trivium and other bands like that. And Any Given Day, it's the coolest dude you ever meet. And he was Instagramming because he's had a bit of downtime too. He was framing every tour pass he had, and he had a whole corridor of these like amazing tour passes. It's like, I want to be that dude. Yeah, that's what I look at and go, I want to be him.
Cool. Next album.
I might have to go with I'm flicking through Spotify. I'm cheating slightly because I can't remember the album's name. Meshuggah, because there's a reason that I'm bad with the names of Meshuggah stuff.
Yes.
Yes, Colossus. Because I think Meshuggah are incredible live, but I never really get into their records. But the only single I've ever really played on repeat is my dyslexia is going to harm me here. Demure. Yeah, Demure. Because I love that track, and that does really work for me on the record. Some reason they just don't click for me on the record, but when I watch them live, I'm just transfixed. Maybe it's the light show, I don't know. But one of my top bands live. But yeah, just records never do it. But that is the only Meshuggah record that I've ever really gotten into.
Cool. And your final one.
I need a third. The honorable mentions are the hardest.
Yeah, I used to go with 3 top albums that kind of were pivotal for people.
I could do that. I could reel them off.
Yeah, no, that was the thing. A lot of bands started to just reel them off, and I was like, "There's no fun in this question anymore." So
I think it would have to be Crystal Castles, their second album.
Okay.
Because I love Crystal Castles, and it's not quite my genre that I promote, so they'll never get in my top 10. But when asked to describe them, when you describe them as computer game themed dance music with a woman screaming inaudibly over it, it's I mean that tends to make people perk up a little bit.
yeah, certainly. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to check this one out because I've not heard.
Oh, you never heard them? Okay,
no,
right.
I've heard them.
Best tracks: Baptism, and where's my Crystal Castles playlist? Plague, Baptism, best track in my opinion, Black Panther. If you want to go a bit weird, then Air War. Which song is it? They've got a really good one with Robert Smith guesting on it called Not in Love. Start with Intimate. That's the best one. Yeah, it's just this like pumping dance track, and at one point it's just inaudible white noise, and then it goes straight back to, for a few bars, and then it goes straight back into it. Like so good. Yeah.
Nice.
If I could book them and also book The Cure just so that they do that one song with Robert Smith together, that is my dream. And having Deftones on the same bill, that's kind of like my dream lineup. If I had more money than I knew what to do with, I would put that together.
Yes, and I would be there probably with hundreds of thousands of other people as well. Because Deftones are one of my favorite live bands.
So yeah, I think I can see the Deftones tattoo there.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, I've got. I like I said, I saw them at the Astoria in like '97, I think it was, with Far. And yeah, like, I mean, adrenaline like got me sort of back into metal, if you will, because I was sort of going down an indie path for a little bit. And then and I saw them when I lived in the States. I got like tickets for like $20, and I saw them twice actually. One with Periphery supporting, which was amazing. And then I saw them supporting Incubus, like an amphitheater show. So it was Incubus, Deftones, and then Death from Above, 1979, which was a great bill. But the Deftones with Periphery was amazing because it was a smaller venue. It was an outdoor venue, but it was like a courtyard.
Yeah.
And it was only $20. So I was like, is insane ticket pricing. I saw like Arctic Monkeys for like $15 and stuff over there, which makes me want to go back over there because everything's just so
Trump's gone now, so why not?
Yeah, why not? I was like, it's got to get rid of COVID now. It's still rife in Florida, unfortunately, and that's where I was based. Crazy part of the States. But my last question for you, man, I'll let you go because I've kept you long enough on this Sunday night. What are your hobbies away from this? So when you're not doing promoting or tour managing or anything like that, what do you sort of do to, I don't know, unwind, get away from it? Or if you have any other hobbies?
I mean, those are kind of my hobbies as well, which is a really weird thing to say. Like, you know, in the last until COVID, you know, I've been to all these wacky, crazy places like Russia, Ukraine. Went to Slovenia. Never ever thought I'd go to Slovenia. Why would I go to Slovenia? Slovenia is the most stunning, incredible place I've ever been.
Yeah.
You know, I got to do it all touring with Heart of a Coward. So, who I manage Heart of a Coward as well. And it's weird because I describe myself kind of as a weird mix of creativity and being organized because they don't always go hand to hand.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was a bit of an artist and then graphic designer as I grew up. Well, I mean, I do the radar stuff. I didn't do the border. I paid a tattoo artist to do that. And nice. I cannot claim that is his work and it's wonderful. Yeah. But, you know, I do all the graphic design around it. I mean, my day job, I work as a social media manager for Performing Arts Academy. I used to work for the Boiler Room. But, you know, I do all these things because I love them. I could never work, say, in a bank because it pays well, and there is nothing wrong with working in a bank as it pays well, but for me, I'd rather be paid badly doing something I love and enjoy what I'm doing. It's a big deal break for me.
Yeah.
So I've just always just followed my heart and done what I want to do. So, you know, in the evening, much to my girlfriend, who sadly is in earshot's dismay, you know, I will often be on my computer working on the festival or doing some stuff for Heart of a Coward, or if I'm helping out another band, or then sometimes I'm playing computer games, if I'm really honest. I play a lot more computer games than I should admit in the last year because, you know, everything's gone a bit quiet. Got a bit bored of rebooking things, and I think we accepted everything was gone for a while, so just settled into getting a bit fat. I had a bit of an accident at the start of lockdown where I slipped my Achilles in a freak accident, and up to that point, my girlfriend was I'm going to say dragging me out because I'm not a natural walker, but I did begrudgingly enjoy it on these wonderful walks.
Yes.
And, you know, we were keeping active and everything. And then, I just had this freak accident and slipped my Achilles, came so close to severing it. So I have not done much exercise in the last 9 months, but as soon as the gyms open, I'm going to be made to suffer, I think, by my girlfriend. She's laughing. Before that, football was my thing. Used to play quite a lot of six-side and stuff. But I'm 36 now. My injuries have just started. As soon as I hit 30, the injuries just kept piling up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, yeah, being honest, my hobbies are doing stuff in the music industry, and if I could just do that for the rest of my life, I'd be pretty happy, I think.
Yeah, cool. No, that's awesome. I mean, like I put down travel, video games, and football out of that. Because traveling was something I used to do a lot, like being in a band, like touring. I used to love doing that, like going up around the UK into Europe, just like jumping in a van and just doing what we do. And sort of I was their manager of the band as well, so I sort of doubled up as that, which is always a fun job when you're the performer and the manager.
Yeah.
But you know, going from there, and like DJing's taken me around as well, which has been fantastic. So when I was over in the States and stuff like that, I was DJing and things like that and doing radio and all. Like I started this podcast actually over there, and sort of keeping my sort of creative side into that. But yeah, it's the same sort of thing. And my day job, I do love doing it because it's helping people. It is working for a corporate, but it is sort of customer service based, and you know, they pay me for it, which is always the bonus. But you know, I've got to support a family and stuff like that. If I was to continue in the music industry, because like when I sort of like when the bands kind of dissipated and stuff, I ended up being a hired gun for a bit for a few bands, and you know, that was fine, but it wasn't regular enough work, and the bands weren't particularly like big enough to continue touring or afford me on that front, which makes me like, it sounds like a mercenary. But
oh no, you should never be apologetic for earning money. I mean, someone once much wiser than me once said, you know, as what I just alluded to, you either do two things in life: what you're supposed to do, which is, you know, go and work for a finance broker or something, make your millions, or do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you do what makes you happy, the money will follow eventually.
Yeah.
And, you know, am I a millionaire? No. Do I worry about money? No. You know, I could. I mean, actually, I got a lesson in how close we are to ruin at the start of the pandemic. I went freelance 3 weeks before the first lockdown, and then my money went very quickly after that because my work dried up. Obviously, you know, unprecedented situation. No one knew what was going on. I quit my job at the Boiler Room, went freelance in graphic design, and I was going to tour more and do all this other stuff. And yeah, money went, and thankfully, Dom, who owns the Boiler Room, managed to, in accordance with the government's guidelines, rehire and furlough me. But by that point, I had exhausted my savings that I had at the time. And yeah, Dom saved me. So thanks, Dom, if you're watching. And then, then I spent, must be 6 months on furlough. And I just was so bored because I was so used to being so busy that I went out and got a job, and I've been working since. But you know, I just decided it was time. I needed to be doing something, and otherwise, I was going to go slightly loopy, I think. I mean, you know, as I said, so many people have had it so much worse. I've been very fortunate in this very bad time. I'm very aware of that. I think also, you know, I've seen a lot of friends struggle with their mental health, and myself and a lot of friends have got together and helped friends when they need it. And we're, you know, I think everyone's had each other's backs. But, you know, I've seen people who, a friend of mine was in a really, really, really good job. And he just got made redundant, and he's been working in a care home, you know, literally wiping people's bums. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
And you know, fortunately, he managed to get a new job doing what's done, but he did what he had to do. You know, like he just knew, I need to pay my bills. I'm just going to do what it takes, and that's what he could get. And actually, fair play to him. He didn't actually want to leave because he got really invested in helping the people there. And and I'm not putting I don't want to put a bad spin on the job. What my point was more is it's a brutal job,
yes,
which he had to do just to pay his bills.
yeah,
So I've had it easy, but I'm very much looking forward to being able to put on a gig where people who haven't had it easy can come and just have a bit of a party. I think that's what I do at the end of the day.
yeah. No, definitely, that sounds good. I'm in the same position as you in as much as like my work, it didn't dry up. They didn't furlough us either, which was great. They continued to pay us.
Oh, that's really kind.
Just working from home, either doing like just keeping each other occupied, really, because we've got a staff of it's like 120 of us. So they could have easily gone furlough, especially with the part-timers and stuff like that. But no, they were saying, look, we'll pay you, just attend these meetings online or whatever, like group activities, just to make sure you're okay. Any problems, give us a shout. They were like really good on that front. And it's like I've been saying the same thing. I'm in very fortunate position, the company I'm working for, because all my sort of other work that I do, so DJing and all that kind of stuff, gone. And it's been gone, obviously, same as you guys, it's been gone. But I've adapted. I've gone online now. I mean, I've had this podcast for like 7 years now, but like the DJing side of it, I've started doing live streams. So, and it's not paying, as it's not paying, but it's letting me do what I love, and stuff like that. And like the job that I do, like the work that's what's given me the sort of thing to do that, which is great. I can't imagine being like in that position where you kind of have to get a job like your friend got. Obviously you've got people who've got to pay their bills and stuff, so it's just sort of and it's more applauding like people like that knuckle down and just sort of, they knew they had to do something, otherwise this could end badly. I
mean, I've always felt, no matter what job I do, you should never feel anything's beneath you. I've cleaned my fair share of toilets, mopped enough floors. But I very much, that's always like working at a music venue, which I love working at the venue. Just you have to do these things. And I always said to the young people who were working with us who maybe didn't like doing it, this is called paying your dues, guys. Like, you're not going to be doing this forever. It's just it shows that you got character. And also, I guess having made a bit of a decision to go freelance, and I really wanted to work from home, so I actually got what I asked for. Because I've done nothing but work from home for the last year. But maybe shouldn't wish for things too much.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all my fault that at the end of this podcast we've just discovered it is my fault.
Yes. Yeah. No, I made I found a post that aged really badly of mine from one of the last Schism nights that we had at the at Casino in the Players Lounge, and I stupidly took a photo of the dance floor and like, virus, what virus? And then it popped up in my memories a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh shit, that aged badly. That's so bad. It's like, I was like, it's my fault. It's all but yeah. Anyway, Radar Festival potentially happening 30th, 31st of July.
I think it's safe to say it's going to happen this year. I'm optimistic it will happen in July. If not, we are definitely going to do it at some point this year. Yeah, I mean, one thing we didn't actually touch on, and I know we're just trying to wrap this up, is I should give a shout out to Casino, because having said, there's this template for a festival we always loved, which was Euroblast, and they are an indoor 2-stage festival, in this music venue called Essig Fabric in Cologne. And I went to ACM's Freshers show that my friend Khan and Andy put on at Casino, and I was like, wow, you can do this in Guildford. I've been looking for this in the UK for forever. Nowhere quite ticked every box. You can't do 2 stages, you don't have dressing room space, or need space for 20 vans, or all these different requirements. But Casino had it all.
Yeah.
And I went to Ian, Munya, and Lucas, and I was like, guys, I want to put on a festival, and they all thought I was insane. And I remember coming in with Catherine for a meeting, and they were just like, and what? And another funny thing is, because they're a nightclub, and they have nightclub mentality with look after their audience. And I was saying to Ian, mate, you don't need that much security. They're metalheads. They're going to drink loads. There will be no trouble, and they'll go home. So he put on tons of security. He didn't listen to me. And after the second day, I went, you didn't need all that security, did you? He went, no. He was paying for it. I wasn't paying for it.
Yeah.
I was like, that cost you a lot of money, didn't it? He was like, yeah. It's like, you didn't need it. No. You can do it next time. No. Which is a testament to the type of people that go to things like this. Because I was like, look, mate, you might throw 3 people out.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid enough to assume that putting on an event that someone's not going to do something naughty or take something stupid. People, if they're determined to do something like that, they're going to do it. It's about mitigating circumstance. He had medics on, he had security. Yeah. I knew the type of people, knew there wasn't going to be any trouble. The only person I think they threw out got a bit excited and threw a cup of water in the air, and nightclub mentality, that's like, oh no. Yeah. And we just went and let him back in because he didn't do anything wrong.
That's brilliant. No, definitely. I mean, like I say, we run the rock night there, so and they know that there's very little trouble from that crowd. It's normally to keep people out rather than kick people out, kind of thing. But yeah, no, definitely. Whenever I put on shows, I've never had I've had a couple of security guards, but that's it. Unless the show required a barrier, to which people were going to be, crowd surfing and whatnot, which happened at one show. But the band specifically said, you're going to need a barrier. You're going to need at least 3 guys across or 4 guys across the front of the stage. We're like, oh, okay. And then, they definitely needed that. The band knew. It was great. The band knew. And they were just and then we're just like, okay, we'll do it. But yeah, no, that's a great thing about sort of metal shows in general, is the lack of trouble. I mean, people do get silly drunk, but they don't get.
Oh, they love their beer, definitely.
Yeah, but it's like a drunk that obviously metalers get sort of tarred with a certain brush of aggression. But when it comes down to it, they're kind of jolly drunks.
Yeah, no, I always think there's an element of self-policing. If someone's being a dick, they get told pretty quickly. The audience is as likely to put out a fire than security. In fact, security will just probably exacerbate it. But I've only actually been to download once, but I didn't see a single bit of trouble there. I've been to Reading quite a few times, and all you see is trouble at Reading. Sorry if anyone from Reading's watching this, but it is what it is.
It is Reading.
I may have been one of those kids, and I may have done some stupid things that I would never admit to on a recording.
Yeah, don't get it down on don't get it recorded. But cool, Joe, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate your time. I hope everything goes ahead. I'm really hoping, because I'm going to continue to get these bands on and chat about this, and do all that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, looking forward to it on that front, and hopefully it goes ahead this year, because I want to see Dirty Loops, and I want to see Sleep Token.
Me too.
But yeah, no, Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, cheers for having me.
Have a good evening, man.
Yeah.